Okay, so I want to outline some challenges and hard truths about the present tax systems, about the present tax law, which has been made in place by Tinubu and APC government. Of course, it came into effect. It was signed into law in 2025, and it is coming into effect from the 1st of January of 2026. Here are some of the very hard truths nobody may have told you. Number one, it feels like a punishment. People feel tax need be reciprocated, that the government collects taxes in vain from citizens. Of course, there are no roads, there are no lights, there are no amenities which are required for proper living in Nigeria especially. And people are wondering, with all the resources, how is it that we are interested in taxing the poor? That is the language on the streets. Number two, that the poor are being taxed, and even more so, more than the rich are being taxed. I understand that the tax authority has come online to say, gone to the media to say there are no taxation for the poor, and the tax tries to get rebate for the poorest of the poor. These are all lies, because Oyedele, or whatever his name is, the tax commissioners cannot tell us what the poverty index is. The poverty index of the world is $4, less than $4. That is about 4,500 naira. If you're making less than 4,000, less than 3,000 naira, that makes you an extremely poor person under the World Bank index. Now that makes your salary of 90,000 naira, which means everybody who falls below the minimum wage, of course. Now, if you're saying 800,000 naira annual income will not be taxed, 800,000, is that not less than the minimum wage taxation? Is that not less than the minimum wage taxation? We need to get it straight. So the poor people will be taxed. That is one truth. Poor people will be taxed, and more so because the rich people have mechanisms in place to avoid paying taxes. But of course, you know who will be harassed by aboros and touts? The poor. So that tax law which Tinubu has made in place, it is for poor people. I want you to know that. Okay, number three, is a truth on its own. Nigeria does not have the proper mechanisms to comprehensively tax its citizens. Nigeria is a country close to the United States in population, with the United States having about over 300 million persons. The IRS has mechanisms in place to track income and tax them. Ask yourself, does Nigeria have the right mechanism? The fact that he started using NIN naturally as your tax ID tells you a lot about the infrastructure of the country. Now, what does that tell you? If there is no way of determining your tax, the government naturally gives you presumptive tax, then so that you will now come to the office and expose yourself. That is the barbaric tax form. Forget the instance of going to France and the rest. The government will give you, they can come to your small business and tell you that your tax is 10 million. The expectation is that you will now come to the office, you will now parley with them and tell them actually what you make. That is the only way. So it is simple toutery. They don't even have that mechanism. And then when you go, of course, to the state levels, the fear is that toutism will actually come into play. So there's a fear on the street that Nigerians will employ touts to try to enforce the new taxation laws. Now, number four, a lot of persons have seen commentaries and opinions. People tell you they will likely put reference their transactions as gifts, reference their transactions as loan, and the likes of it. One thing Nigerians forget: everything is not cruise. The ideation of taxation is what you already have before. You should know how these taxes work prior to now. When the government is not sure of the amount of tax to be paid, they naturally send field officers to your business. Of course, after giving you exorbitant charge, then you come explain yourself to an extent. They send field officers to come to the field and make calculations, and in their own, under their impressions, they can imagine what that business ought to have made in a year. So the fact that you use loans for most of the transaction and gift and the rest, they can still use by themselves place a tax